Hi, Kelly and Chaos here, Stone The Crone. Yesterday I went out handing out pamphlets in the city and I got home last night. I took a little bit of video yesterday and got home last night and I was talking about, getting caught a fucking turf, which was, gotta admit, kind of cool. The other one, because I was just reflecting on it, and the other one that I sort of didn't bring up and I actually thought it was worthwhile mentioning was a young fella that came up to me and he willingly took the little brochure and he walked off and read it. Like you could see him reading it and I'm handing out more. And then he came back to me and he said, "I don't understand." Now, I'd say he was about the same age as my son, and my son's 22 years old. And I said to him, "What don't you understand?" And he said, "Are you for trans or against trans?" And I said, "I'm pro women's rights. I don't have a problem with gender fluidity. I don't have a problem with gender expression. But I have to base my truth in natural law, which is pro-reality." At that point, he said to me, "Why can't you just be nice? And why can't you just let them be?" Now, what I don't really, what I struggle with, I suppose, with what he's saying, and he's a young man, and I totally get where he's thinking is kind of coming from. I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to grasp it. Okay, so I don't totally get it. Whatever. Is that we should let them be. We're not going into their spaces. They're entering our spaces. They're entering our sports. They're going to be classed as a woman. So any time that there is a number of, like, literally for diversity, so they're accepting so many men, so many women, so many people of colour, so many of this, we lose out how many women in the catchment if men can ID as women. Okay, so say we want 4 people for the job. We want 2 women and 2 men. Those women and men can be made up of either people of colour, regardless of nationality. So if a man can ID as a woman, then theoretically they can be 4 men, 4 male-born people. Because you can put 2 biological men in, and then you can put 2 trans-identifying women in. So that by that I mean a man that identifies as a woman. So when he's saying to me, just leave them alone, that he doesn't understand, I had nothing else to say to him was then, how about you go home and discuss this idea and topics with your mum or your grandmother? We want to leave them alone. I don't care how you present yourself. I really don't. But I want to leave them alone. I do. But for the last 4 years, and my husband plays in, and I've mentioned this before, my husband plays in local bands, so I'm in clubs. I'm 46 years old. Honestly, some nights I just don't go. I just want to have a good sleep. Like, shit, man. Can you not see the grey? Hello, gotta dye that shit out. Or not. Whatever. I've got a bit of purple in there still somewhere. But I've even dialed my hair down, I'm part of the alternative community where I live, and it's just crazy. So back to my husband playing in bands and just leave them alone. Well, it affects me. When I go out, like personally affects me. When I go out clubbing with my husband when he plays the bands, I no longer can dress the way I want to dress to go out. And I like my dark, gothy attire. I always have. You know, when I was young, I was 8 years old, and I'm saying this yesterday. I was 8 years old. And I wanted this dress, and it was apparently a bridesmaid's dress, so it was purple satin with black lace over the top. And I took my uncle to go have a look at this dress because my birthday was coming up. I really wanted this dress. And when we left, I was convinced to take a little top and a little skirt made out of pink Hawaiian fabric that had pineapples everywhere on it. And when we got home, it was made such a big deal of. I had to put it on. I had to model it for the family as an 8-year-old. And I felt really uncomfortable in this clothes. It wasn't me. And I get it. I get it. I get not dressing for conformity. I get that personality expression through our clothes is so important. And as an artist, expression is important. As a dancer, expression is like, some days I find it hard to articulate, and I think, gee, it'd be so great to be able to just do it in performative dance, but no one would understand what I'm talking about. So this is me. This is the package that I am. I do like my darker stuff. I do like my shadow, living in the shadow type of thing. So 4 years ago, I realised that the bottom of my skirts and the bottom of my dresses were getting wet. Like literally getting wet in the clubs. And at first I actually thought that, drunken people spilling drinks and that type of thing. And then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm not a drinker. Not a drinker. I don't drink. I go to these things and I'm normally the driver home. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a bit more conscious than everybody else here, and I'm pretty conscious about where I'm walking. And then it got me. I actually got it. There was men's urine in the bathrooms, in the women's bathrooms in these clubs, on the floor. And that was the connection that I had made. Because I was walking in and the lid was up, and these men that are dressed and presenting as women, totally don't have a problem with, were still standing to pee. Peeing all over the seat, peeing all over the floor. And I've had to change my way of interacting with this world to tolerate bodily fluid on my clothes when I went out. So let them be. This young man says, let them be. Are you for or against them? Let them be. How about you let us be? I really can't see, and I really don't know, a single woman who really, really wants to be walking around in their dresses, with a little train on, like a cute little train, like a little bit of draggy, as long as don't step on it and trip you over. Like, I'm 5'1". Most of my clothes, if I buy clothes that is long, most of my clothes are too long. I sew, so at least I can take that shit up. But most of my stuff is too long. I shouldn't have to keep adjusting my clothes, my fashion, and what I'm comfortable in wearing out and about in the world based on somebody else's fetish. Let me be. Let the goths be. Let the swampies be. That's what they used to call them here, and I was in Australia in the 90s. Swampies. Let them be. Let them wear their long clothes. Let them wear their stuff that's a little bit too long, and have it not have to be dragged through somebody else's bodily fluid. That would be nice. It seems like the argument is always one-sided with these people. There seems to be, especially when you're talking to the young men, the women seem to be more aggressive. From the handing outs that I've done, I've noticed that the women are way more aggressive than the men, but the men are way more completely dismissive. They just don't understand the why. And it was a concern. This young man looked like he'd just come out of uni for the day, finished his day. Willing to take one, and then didn't understand the words on there. It says most Australians agree that woman is an adult human female, not a gender identity. Do you think it is unfair that men with gender identities are allowed to compete in women's sports? ? So it's all put in question mark points. Are you concerned with transgender laws that allow men into the access of women-only spaces, change rooms and toilets? Should lesbian women have the right to single-sex spaces, events without the presence of men who call themselves lesbians? Should schools be allowed to socially transition children without the knowledge of their parents' consent? Do you think children experience gender confusion should receive robust psychological care rather than puberty blockers and hormones? Do you think the transgender laws have gone too far? You're not alone. Ask your federal candidates where they stand on these important issues. Ask if they will work to amend the Federal Sex Discrimination Act so that it works for girls and women, not gender identities. Tell your candidate, respect my sex if you want my vote. I just think it's a little bit of a concern that he didn't understand what that said as a young man coming out of uni. I know this is like a whole heap longer video than the one that I did last night and yesterday, but yeah. So it was interesting. My hubby's just got home. Gotta go down and help him unpack the groceries because he shops. That's his thing. Me, I don't shop. Don't really like it. Anyway, on that note, Stone out.